Hello, Denise. It's nice to meet you.
Good morning, Kim. Nice to meet you.
Uh, I would have been there this morning, except that woke up with bronchitis, so
Oh, no.
not my normal
Well,
voice.
Okay.
good morning. We'll get started in just a minute. Please be aware that we are already live streaming, so let's keep some of the chat to a minimum. I'm sorry.
Okay, I
Um,
didn't know we were on already. Thank you.
we are just because we wanted to make sure it's ready to go. We're in a new room today, so we'll get started momentarily.
May I keep my camera off, or does it need to
Yeah,
be on?
you can you can turn it off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning. Are we on?
Good morning, Robbie. Yes, we are on, but we have not started yet.
We haven't got a quorum yet.
We're almost there. We'll be starting in just a few minutes here.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure my sound was working. Thank you.
Can you hear us okay? Member Corporate?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay, we'll get started in just a minute.
This is Ann Tebow. I can hear you guys. I cannot get a video, but I don't know that that's important. I have the materials here. Oh, maybe I have it now. I'm not sure. Oh, I know what the problem is.
I can see you, Ann.
I know. It's my camera. There's a window at the top of my computer that I close. I don't know, probably because I'm opening and shutting the computer. And when it's closed, it shuts the camera off. Okay. Technology. Yeah. Not my field of expertise.
We're live.
Would you like to call roll, or actually to start and call a meeting to order?
Yes, if I knew what time it was. 9:42. Thank you. The meeting is called to order at 9:42. And if you would, can we have a roll call?
Yes, so I will start. So I'm just going to walk through everybody's names to check attendance. We have member Betsy Farah. Member Patty Horn.
Present.
Member Janice Pennell.
Present.
Member Robbie Corporich.
Present.
Member Linnea Lighting.
Present.
Chair Peasley.
Present.
Member Ann Fabio.
Present.
And member Matt Weaver. Here. Did I call member Denise Linsalata?
No, but I am present.
All right, awesome. We have a quorum. So we are going to start with item 1, the introduction of a new member to the committee. At our board's December meeting, we appointed Denise Linsalata to the HR director position for the Certification Advisory Committee. I will give member Linsalata some time to introduce herself to the committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Denise Linsalata, and I work in the Marana Unified School District. This is my 30th year in public education.
Welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
This is the time for public comment on items on today's agenda. However, I do not see anyone in the audience that wishes to speak. Staff, do we have anyone?
We have no virtual attendees at this time.
Thank you. Bruce, I think that you have some things to share with us on item 3, presentation. So if you would, please give us the information that you have today.
Great. Thank you, Member Horn. Members, so we're here today for basically 2 agenda items, and I think we're going to tee up the PowerPoint here in a minute to kind of walk you through. These are basically technical changes and cleanup changes to the early childhood certificate and the elementary certificate. The certification unit has noticed some leftover language, some technical issues in the language from the massive rule change that happened in 2016 and 2017, as well as the literacy endorsement was adopted, and that impacts these certificates and some of the language. And so my intention is to walk you through those, and I know then we'll hit it again when we get to the later agenda items. But so we'll start in the PowerPoint, and I hope you had a chance to review those. Maura's done a great work helping prep this, and she's here today. So if we get in the weeds between the 2 of us, we can figure out the answer. You'll notice on the PowerPoint and on the attached Word docs with proposed rule changes that we've got some highlighting. And basically the highlight, if it's highlighted in green, it's just a technical change. There's no substantive change. There's basically no perceived impact on the field. It's just some language that needs to be corrected. I'll get there, such as the intern certificate. We no longer have that certificate. It's now the alternative teaching. So that would be a kind of an example of a change in green. Change in blue is substantive changes, which directly need to highlight or align with state statute. And I refer to that literacy and the language around those literacy classes. So again, I wouldn't say that there's an impact on the field. We're already grandfathering the folks that had the previous training. This is just to get these rules in line. And then yellow is there's not many of those in yellow, but that would be a substantive change. And I think the one that comes to mind is going to be in the early childhood around the practicum, which actually opens the door and potentially removes a barrier. So we go to the next slide. We'll start with the elementary. And kind of this is taking those, our rule change suggestions and kind of highlighting it out so we can talk about each one. First of all, the title of the rule says plural certificates. There isn't plural certificates. This is a leftover from 2017. And so the rule was already changed, but the title is arguably incorrect. The next one down is, no, stay on that side, please. So part of the rule, part of the language in 2017 was grandfathering language or transition language. And so it took the old certificate rule and it said anything prior to August 1st of 2018 and kept that rule language and then adopted new rule language. So we no longer need that language. We're way past this. Certificates that would have been issued have been issued, and that no longer applies. And so we're suggesting the removal of that language. Now the next slide. Thank you. So those were some greens. Now this slide has a little bit of both. We've got some blues, which is in alignment with statute, and we've got some yellow, which are more substantive and could, you know, if you need to discuss. And then the green again is technical changes. And so the bulk of this slide is aligning the coursework requirements with the endorsement rule language that's R72615. And so that language to point to the science of reading got changed, and now all of the ed preps are aligned to that. And so this just puts the certificate rule in alignment and makes it clear. And then again, the rule language, the green is the rule language to remove unnecessary language that was transition language back, you know, received on or before October 15th of 2020. Those have all been issued. The yellow is to allow the department so the department with the science of reading and the literacy endorsement has built a catalog of approved trainings to meet the literacy coursework and training requirement. And so this is just pointing, the yellow language is to point to that list so that we're clear, and when the certification desk is analyzing this, you know, we're digging in to make sure it matches the science of reading, which is the one class, and the second class is that the second reading course with differentiation and assessment. And so those have all been vetted, and now it's a pretty comprehensive and always being added to list at the department. So that's what that language points to. On the next slide, this is a technical correction, the first row, and that's to the teaching intern certificate no longer exists. That title got changed to alternative teaching, so that's fixing that. And then the second row, this was kind of an error or a conflict of language that was introduced in 2016, 2017. Basically, the ways to waive the proficiency exams are already in rule. They're in the general provisions. The menu of ways to waive the subject knowledge portion and the professional knowledge portion are already well defined. There's a menu, and this kind of reiterates some of it, but causes confusion when we may go to an appeal with somebody who's not meeting that. And so we're suggesting striking that language and just pointing to the provisions which already define the multitude of ways of waiving those assessments. So that was the elementary changes. The next slide is early childhood. Again, the first row is a similar change. There's an early childhood certificate, not certificates. The special education early childhood is its own rule. And so that it doesn't really kind of fall under this. And then the second change is just taking a lot of language that defines what somebody can do with the certificate and making it more clear and concise. On the next slide, again, this is to remove the grandfather transition language that no longer is applicable because we haven't received any applications that we haven't processed prior to August 1st of 2018. And then the next row is just kind of removing, we keep fighting, like all of our certificates are grade levels, K this, K, and all of a sudden we have an age in here. Birth to age 8 or grade 3. And so we're suggesting just leave it birth to grade 3. It actually offers a little flexibility because grade 3 may have 8 and 9-year-olds in it. And so, are you not authorized to teach a 9-year-old, but they're in 3rd grade? So, let's just kind of remove that. It's not really how we refer to grade spans. On the next slide, again, this is a statute alignment. The blue is all statute alignment. It's to make common language between the reading courses. Early childhood was also required to include the literacy coursework in their programs. So they're already getting this in new programs. And so we want the same language, the endorsement, the elementary and the early childhood certificates. And then also, again, likewise, the department approved training so that they're just not going out and signing up for a training that may or may not count. They're using the department approved list. The next slide, which disappeared, is coming back. So this one looks more substantial than it is, but it's removing the language. It's removing the practicum language in there. And so the technical issue is that practicum is not described in R72604, which is for ed prep programs. So how are they to design a practicum that's not defined in rule? But they do have rules around field experiences and capstone. So that's already in ed prep rules. So it doesn't really need to be defined as a requirement here. And then if you'll notice the next line, there's language there. Am I on the right path here, Maura? There's language that defines what the practicum and capstone or the field experience in capstone should be. So that the language is already there. We'd like to clean it up a little bit. It limits the early childhood experiences to be kindergarten through grade 3, but that doesn't align to the certificate. The certificate is birth through grade 3. So if we open it up to preschool, they can have those experiences in preschool as well to count for qualifying for the certificate. The green language.
Hey, Bruce, we can't see the slides anymore online. Can
Okay.
we? Thank
Pause.
you.
I know I'm rip roaring through it, but I figured you did your homework.
Well, yeah, but it's always nice to see it when you're talking. I mean, I can pull them up, but then my screen's smaller. Thank you.
So again, I talked about this second row down being removing the practicum, which is not defined, and then relying upon the language that's there and cleaning it up a little bit, opening up preschool experience to help qualify for the certificate, rather than them having to have that experience in kindergarten through grade 3. It allows some time in preschool as well.
Would you prefer that we ask our questions along the way or wait until after your presentation?
It's up to you.
Why don't we just do it as we go along?
Say that again.
Why don't we just
Sure.
questions while he's on them?
Well, I have a question and then I'll open it up to the members as well. My question is, are you doing away with the practicum at the early childhood level?
No, it's already defined as the necessary. Ed preps are required to have field experiences and capstones. So the rule got changed to capstones rather than practicums. But the language, there's leftover language in the early childhood certificate that says practicum, but we no longer have practicum defined. And so capstones and field experiences are defined and required.
So it sounds like in this paragraph, in the second piece of this paragraph, that the student teaching can take place of the capstone. So I'm just trying to clarify that we're not doing away with the practicum or capstone prior to student teaching, that they need both of those experiences.
They do. The second half of that, the second row or the third row down with the most text, that yellow language right there is the ability to waive the capstone with experience, right? We have that in the other cert.
And
So,
that's consistent.
yeah, correct.
But I guess I'm just confused where I don't read this rule. If I'm going to implement it, I don't read this rule as saying that you have to have a capstone and a student teaching experience. I read this as I can only do student teaching and not have, in quote, a practicum or a practicum experience, and that concerns me.
If we move to the language, it's in your book, it's the last kind of packet. It's the rule as we're suggesting it rather than being in a PowerPoint. It's a couple sections forward. I think it's the second to last page at the end in your binder. And so that would be the rule on page 4 of second to last page in your binder. This is the, I don't know what they have access to online, but
This one right here.
yes. And so if you go to page 4, it's a standard professional early childhood certificate and all the same highlighting is there. So you can kind of see the rule language laid out rather than broken out in the PowerPoint.
Okay,
And so you can see that, especially when we get to this, option B is completion of the program and the program must include, and then on the next page, on page 5, the practicum as described in R72604, serving in children in birth to preschool, it's not defined in R72604, it doesn't exist. So we're pointing to something that doesn't exist.
I see.
And then we're changing X13 to 12 in the Roman numerals, and it's got the capstone experience. So that's the student teaching, right? We changed that language in 2017. Instead of student teaching, it was capstone.
but it says or, it doesn't say and.
It's and for 12, they have to have a capstone, or they can waive it with the 1 year of full-time teaching.
But my 12-year, what I would need clarification with is the 12-week capstone experience can also be student teaching. Because the rule says or student teaching.
Right.
So I don't have to have a practicum in early childhood.
Is it the student teaching? I mean,
Well, normally you have a semester of what we call practicum. And then you have student teaching on top of that. Because it says or, it doesn't say and. I can just go to student teaching and skip the practicum. So you're lessening the number of hours a student has to practice in quote prior to student teaching.
so Laura's gonna weigh in, but I think that there's
That makes
part of
sense.
ed prep program authorization, that's defined there. That's something that
Right.
we don't analyze at the cert desk primarily.
Right, and I'm sure most early childhood programs do include a practicum, but I'm saying that due to this rule change, I can totally skip any kind of experience in preschool and just go directly to student teaching in preschool because it says or.
So, Member Horn, from the certification desk point of view, the board-approved educator preparation programs are reviewed under separate rules. They're reviewed under the EPP rules. So the EPP rules require that the programs show both field experiences prior to student teaching and the capstone experience, which is student teaching. That's another word for student teaching. So this section really belongs under the EPP rule. It really lies there. And I think we could provide guidance to our educator preparation programs that to have an effect, they'll be evaluated on their ability to provide field experiences prior to the capstone experience, so they have experience at all grade ranges. But this section, where it creates an issue for us is where there's another part of this rule, the course by course option. So they have to have 2 years of full-time teaching, and then they can just take the courses that are listed as part of an educator preparation program. So their coursework has to address those topics. This isn't really a topic, and it's not really well defined. So, and for that course by course option, when the certification desk reviews it, it's really doesn't make any sense because there's I think it's really a matter of where this practicum experience belongs, because no other rules have this practicum in there. This is the only one that does, and I think it can be addressed in our policies and procedures around our educator preparation program.
So if I come from out of state, and you're going to look at this rule, I can get an early childhood certificate if I have student teaching experience only,
But that's,
according to
Okay,
the
so there's-
certification.
so there's option, so option, and when we look at the elementary teaching certificate, a couple pages prior, that practicum is not in that rule either. You know, that's Maura's point, right? And so option A is that you come into the certification with an ed prep program, either in Arizona and approved, which we have, we have oversight over and approval authority over, the board does, which will include the field experiences and the capstone. Or you come from out of state and we have, if you show an ed prep program from out of state and we verify your student teaching, that's option A. We don't dig into very many of the topics. Now, option B, to get that door open, you have to have 2 years of full-time teaching in that area of certification. And so under option B and under the language that we're looking to refine, we can't find practicum, first of all, in their transcripts. And they already have 2 years of full-time teaching.
Okay. Does any other member have a question so far? Okay,
I do.
sorry.
I was gonna say Kim Briggs.
Somebody does. I'm sorry, who was that?
This is Kim Peasley.
Oh, hi, Kim. Go ahead.
Hi. And I don't really have a question much as a comment. First of all, thank you for cleaning up this language, Bruce and Maura. This is what we've been anticipating this and knew it was going to be coming. But sometimes so many years go by in between, it's hard to keep all the proposed and planned changes straight. The one thing that I know the directors in school districts who are in charge of preschool programs are going to be very grateful to see this change coming that allows the preschool teaching experience as part of the qualifying experience and the teachers need to have. That's been a holdup in getting teachers, preschool teachers certified. So those are my comments, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. I totally agree. I appreciate all the language cleanup so that we're consistent throughout the language. I just wanted to make sure that I understood exactly what this rule.
I know it's the spider web of rules, right?
Yeah.
And so again, if they're coming in a newbie, no teaching experience, we're looking for an ed prep program. And ed prep programs have that's defined. If it's a state approved prep program, those pieces are in place. If it's out of state, we don't have a lot of control over that. Alternative, we don't have a lot of control over that. We're looking for the pieces that define what the prep program was. It's accredited, or approved in their state. And so that's kind of the best that we can do on that. But again, as more eloquently stated than I did, evaluating option B and looking for this, what is typically a course topic on a transcript, it's causing a lot of issues. It doesn't
Thank
really
you.
exist there.
I appreciate the clarification.
Next slide, unless Kim still has a question.
Kim, your hand is up. Do you want to make?
Yes,
another-
my hand was up and usually it goes down by itself. It didn't this time. No, I don't have a question. I will lower it.
Thank you for your comments, Kim.
So the last slide again is the green, which for my recollection, which is the technical changes. And so the top row again is the same kind of testing rule issue. We should point to the testing rule, not have the testing rule, which already defines all of this, and then talk about it again. It's cleaning, let's point to R 72607 where it's all defined.
Right.
And then the second row, we have one error that we did here. And so the line, the right before the green, the XII, the 12 should actually be 11. It's wrong on the Word doc too, and we'll work with staff to, when we push that forward, that, you know, through XI, through 11 is what that should say. And then what's this one? Removes conflicting language that applies to individuals completing all prep program. Why, what, Laura, remind me why we're.
Because this, so it says they need 2 years, and then there's
Oh,
a line about 1 year. So
Okay. Yeah, so this top of this rule says that they need to have 2 years of verified full-time teaching experience, and then all of a sudden on the bottom it says 1 year can waive something else. So we can go through that again as we move on to the next agenda items, which is looking at the language kind of in context in the Word docs.
Thank you for all of that information. That's really important for us to keep our rules and regulations in line. And we do appreciate, I know how difficult it is to be on the certification desk, so I appreciate you bringing this language forward. Do any of the other members have any comments before we move on to item 4? Item 4 is a voting item on approving R72-609 for board consideration to open rulemaking. So Bruce, if you'd like to take us through this process, we would appreciate it.
Sure. Member Horn and all members. So what you'll find in your documents or the binder is the language, the item language gives the background discussion, which we've talked about in the PowerPoint. And then includes the document R72-609 elementary teaching with the same changes highlighted. Are we okay online? Look like they're frozen. Oh, there's Robbie, move it. Okay, so there is what we just walked through in the PowerPoint in context of the actual modifications to rule language. The elementary is as presented in the PowerPoint.
So because we went through this in a PowerPoint, if you guys can review the materials for the changes, the recommended changes to R7-2-609, we would like to open up the floor for discussion between members ahead of taking action on this item.
Do any of the members want to make a comment or a question? Do you have a question?
Again, just for the section, discussion, point of discussion, just for this part of the meeting prior to a motion, I would like to reiterate that these are welcome changes that are going to do a lot to clarify and bring this certification back in line with the rest of the certifications and make the work of our certification division much easier, and the planning and preparation of our applicants for these teaching certificates to our state, much easier process for them. So thank you. And I don't have any questions, any other questions or concerns about this certificate.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. Do we have a motion to approve R 7-2-609 regarding the standard provisional elementary teaching certificate as presented and recommend the State Board of Education open rulemaking procedures?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, we have Angel made the motion and Matt gave us a second. So all members in favor, please say aye.
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 Any member opposed, say nay, please. Thank you very much. Needless to say, it passed unanimously. If we go to item number 5, this is also a voting item by approving R 7-2-608 for board consideration to open the rulemaking process. So Bruce, would you like to make a comment?
Sure. Thank you, Member Horn. Members, again, the same kind of format. There's the item before you. Maura's done a great job of summarizing the background discussion, why we're doing this, summarizing the recommended changes. Following that is the rule language in context. Again, I think we have, it follows the PowerPoint. We do have on page 5, the last page of that document. We've already noticed an error in number 2. The last line of the last page, the little 10, the Roman numeral X should be 11 XI, but otherwise it's as presented in the PowerPoint.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Just for the committee members attending virtually, on voting items, if it would be helpful if we can just briefly turn cameras on and just unmute so we can hear all the members' votes on this item, that would be appreciated. Thank you so much. You guys can turn it right back off right after the vote, I promise. You don't have to, if you don't want to have the FaceTime, you don't need it, but just for the action items, that is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Do I have a motion to approve R 7-2-609 regarding the standard professional elementary teaching certificate as presented and recommend the State Board of Education open rulemaking procedures?
So moved.
Matt, so moved, and Angel seconded. All of the members who are voting in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Thank you again. It passed on a unanimous vote.
Yes. Member Horn, would you be able to recall that motion for, it was copy paste error on the script. Would you be able to recall it for R 7-2-608?
609.
Standard professional early childhood certificate.
Yes,
Yes, thank you so much.
you bet. I apologize. I know, I thought we voted on that, didn't we? So do I have a motion to approve R 7-2-608 regarding the standard provisional elementary teaching certificate? Or is that the early childhood
Standard professional early childhood
certificate?
So moved.
And I'll second again. Okay. And all members who vote aye, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much for that correction. That's important. Well, I can't believe that we got to item 7 already, which is trying to find a date about the committee's work that we need to do. So what we need to have done is to see where we are in the process of scheduling our meetings. And also, does anybody have any questions about the work that we're doing? No? No? Do you have our next meeting scheduled?
How soon do you feel we need to meet based on what's coming through?
Yes, of course. So we had been discussing with the department about the scheduling for the next meeting. with some of the changes that I'll allow Bruce to cover briefly for the future meeting date. We may be allowing, we may let everybody have, we have a lot of school board members, we have teachers, administrators, and we would like to allow us to have your spring break. So we may hold off the March meetings and reconvene in April. I'll allow Bruce to give just a brief overview on what we'll be covering in the April
Good
meeting.
idea.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's a great idea.
So likewise, we've identified a lot of the endorsement language. There's many endorsements, and some of those endorsements haven't been looked at. I mean, I was here since 2015, and we haven't looked at any of that language. And Maura knows the history, but there's a lot of language that needs to just probably be looked at, possibly freshened up, not necessarily massive changes, but just some alignment, some technical issues. Certificates have changed, from alternative being the intern prior to we don't have reciprocal certificates anymore. We go straight to standard. So there's lots of technical changes that we've identified that we would probably need to start opening endorsement rules. And as we get there, there may or may not be the recommendation for a little bit of updatings. Some of the newest endorsements we adopted was the computer science, and we kind of addressed that micro-credential, where we really talked about competency-based learning and allowing LEAs to use that to verify for us. And so there's a lot of endorsements that have been hanging around. The reading endorsements now with the literacy endorsement, how do we differentiate? Is it a reading interventionist? Is it a reading coach? And so there's some things that we probably need to process. We're kind of we've done a lot, Maura's done a lot of work on that. But realistically, we'd probably be looking at maybe in April or May, and we could do it in pieces as well, because the endorsements, there's many, and we could kind of do it in some waves, from maybe a technical standpoint, ones that just need a little technical cleanup, to ones that maybe need a little bit more discussion and kind of work our way into it. So that's what we're suggesting.
That will really be helpful, especially trying to differentiate between the reading endorsement and the literacy endorsement. So we appreciate all of the hard work that the certification office is doing. Do we have a tentative date for April or May?
So with everyone's permission, I know that historically this committee has met on the first Tuesday of the month. And I wanted to gauge where all the members are at on continuing that. We had because we are a small committee right now and we're trying to make quorum every meeting. We had to move it to the second Tuesday of this month. But if it is comfortable for members to revert back to that first Tuesday of the month, I think that would be hopefully the best option. But if there are scheduling conflicts, we will definitely be able to reach out to find a nice new spot in the schedule.
Does that give you all enough time? Because you were saying April or May. Does that?
Yeah, if we're looking to May, I think we've got them staged.
Okay.
It's just been a minute since we looked at them, and so kind of getting back up to speed and making it kind of logical for you guys to, what's the first piece to bite off?
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are the ones doing the hard work. So you have enough time.
So we'll be looking at that first Tuesday of May. So
Okay.
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Yes.
Okay.
So do
So
any of,
not April, May, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that would be good because state testing begins in April. And a lot of us are going to be happily testing.
is there any further discussion about the first Tuesday of the month? We'll go for that. If it doesn't work, then I know that Rico will be able to find a better date for all of us. So is that agreeable with the members?
Yes, it is.
All right, great. And that would be, to clarify, that first Tuesday of May would actually be May 7th. Just for members' awareness, that would be the tentative meeting date that we would be looking at the endorsements piece. I also wanted to just briefly highlight to members that we have a couple vacancies. I'm sure there's been a little bit of pressure to make quorum, and I really appreciate everyone for attending this meeting. And I just wanted to make members aware that right now, for the Certification Advisory Committee, we have a vacant county superintendent spot. We have a vacant secondary teaching space. We also have a vacant local governing board member. And at this upcoming February meeting, board staff will be proposing to restructure the committee a bit. Right now, it's technically a 15-member committee, which is why quorum has been so difficult. Although we would be looking at possibly reducing the public members from 3 to 1. I want to get you guys have a lot of experience on this committee. It is my understanding that those 2 public member spaces that we have been from prior staff considerations and prior members and feedback. Those 2 public member spaces have not been filled very often historically. And we have not been able to circulate that feedback to allow for the public members 3 spaces to be filled. And along with the other membership pieces, we have 1 space for each member other than that public piece.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other comments for the good of the order?
Thank you, Rico, for juggling and,
Yeah, thank you.
switching on a dime like this. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much. This committee makes it so easy. I really appreciate all the work and prep that you guys do and in getting organized for these meetings. And it makes my job a lot easier. Bruce also makes my job extremely easy because
Bruce
he
makes
is
everybody's
the
job easier.
content knowledge expert here. And I also wanted to, I didn't get to touch on it as much in one of our items, but I really wanted to thank member Lynn Salata for joining our committee on such short notice in December when she thought we were going to be meeting in January. And she went appointed, went right into briefings to catch up on everything. And she was also recommended by member Carolyn Dumler, who is our previous HR director, and she is her successor. So thank you so much for dedicating all your time and effort to this committee. Thank you.
And then my last comment is thank you so much, Member Horn and Rico, for putting this together on such short notice and taking over the leadership for today. I appreciate it.
Well, we look forward to your return.
I'll be back.
Hope you feel better soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Then at this time, I will say the meeting is adjourned at 10:24. Thank you all very much for coming and making sure that we have a forum today.